Okay. Well, Paris, thank you so much for joining me today. We connected a couple weeks ago just about the work that you're doing with Black Tech Pipeline, the hashtag you created, Black Tech Twitter. So just want to give you a minute to introduce yourself, give us kind of the high level stuff about what you're working on, and then we'll touch on it a little bit later.
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Paris Athena. I'm creator of the hashtag movement and community Black Tech Twitter, and I'm founder of Black Tech Pipeline, bringing resources, opportunity, and exposure to Black technologists in the tech industry.
Awesome. So before we kind of get into all that goodness and talk about what you're working on, where did you get started in tech? Was it something you always wanted to go into? Where did you study? Did you do a boot camp? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I started off at a boot camp called, excuse my fiance. I started off at a boot camp called Resilient Coders. They taught me front-end web development. So it was an 8-week boot camp. And after 8 weeks, I then did their apprenticeship for another 8 weeks. And then from there, I got my internship at a big ad agency where I was on the tech and innovation team. And then from there, got my first job as a software engineer.
What did that apprenticeship look like?
So for the boot camp, the apprenticeship was we were working on their client websites. So we took our skills that we learned from the 8 weeks prior, learning front-end web development. We then we broke into teams and worked on different applications, learning things like Jekyll and, just working in different environments. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It's like real world experience.
That's awesome. So you've been in tech now for a few years, obviously. What kind of led you to create this Twitter movement, Black Tech Twitter? Like, did that just kind of come to you, or was it something that really like ignited that?
Yeah, so I actually I put out a tweet that happened to take off. I just tweeted, what does Black Twitter in tech look like? I only did that because when I got onto Twitter, I noticed that there was a really small community of Black technologists. And up until that point, I really didn't believe that there were Black people in tech, just because I never worked with anyone who looked like me. So when I saw that there were, I posted that tweet just to see who would respond. I didn't think anyone would respond because I did not have a following at all. But unexpectedly, it just took off. And from there, employers, like, it gained so much attention that employers started reaching out to me asking if I would recruit candidates from this new community of Black technologists into their companies. And I just said yes to all of them. And so my whole business really fell into my lap. So yeah.
And because you weren't in recruiting or anything before.
No, I didn't have any recruiting experience. I never wanted to be a recruiter. I didn't even want to do what I'm doing now then. So yeah, this all came about very randomly and unexpectedly and unintentionally.
So that's kind of the essence of Black Tech Pipeline. So let's move into that. So kind of give us, walk through what that process looks like for first the employers who come to you, and then for the employee.
Yeah. So when I work with employers, so they'll reach out to me because they want to use either my recruiting services or my job board services. When I speak with them, especially if they're going to be taking advantage of my recruitment service, I ask them lots of questions about what they're doing in terms of DE&I now. Because I want to get a sense of what their intentions are. Why do they want this? I want to make sure that this is an employer who is actionable and not performative, because if you're performative, I don't want to work with you. Because it's really hard to make any sort of change in an organization that's just being performative.
Right.
So we have phone calls, we have back and forth emails, and if they take advantage of the recruitment service, what I do is I'll send them candidates from my talent database that I have. And if they hire someone, it turns into a long-term relationship because I virtually stay on the job with every hire for their first 90 days. And that's my way of being able to hold the employer accountable, and then also make sure that the hire is having a good experience and being set up for success.
That's awesome. So what does that usually look like the first 90 days? And how do you kind of communicate between the company and the employee, and how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, so I meet with them biweekly for 90 days. So when I meet with the candidate, it's like or the hire, I keep it really simple. I'm just asking, so what's up? How's it going? How's work? I want to get a sense of what they're working on, what they're learning, do they need any help anywhere? And then what's their experience been like? Do they feel happy? Do they feel welcome? Um, and so they just give me really transparent feedback, and it's just a conversation, really. And regardless of the feedback is positive or negative, I take that feedback and relay it to usually their manager, and we'll talk about it. So sometimes the feedback's really good, there's nothing really bad to say or negative or whatever. So I let them know, like, keep doing what you're doing, this is going really well. If it's something more negative, I do talk about what's going on, what's their experience been like, what could make it better. And I tell them what could make it better by asking that hire, like, what would make this better for you, because I don't want to ever speak for someone's experience and tell you how to solve it. I want to hear from them first. So it's very much like a candidate or hire first experience. And if the feedback consists of something that needs actionable steps to be taken forward, I help the employer navigate those steps. Sometimes I help with creating a reporting system. Sometimes I help with creating better DEI policies and procedures. So it really always depends. But my whole goal is to make sure that we're setting up that hire for success.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think when I found your Twitter and I learned more about Black Tech Pipeline, I felt like we needed to have this conversation because, it starts with education, really, and making sure that people who want to learn how to code, want to move into tech, want to be a part of this industry, know that, not only are there options available for them to learn, but there's options available, when they do enter the workforce, and that they can feel, supported and just kind of
Right.
heard and taken care of. So you mentioned a few things like reporting and some other kind of actionable steps that
Mm-hmm.
that these companies can take. Is there anything else that you think is important for employers to know, just kind of in this conversation that's happening every day in the tech industry around diversity and inclusion? What are some ways that companies can really support both candidates and employees, as they're kind of
Yeah.
this?
I think employers need to always continue learning. And when I say learning, like, a lot of employers do like these DEI workshops, that are like 3-day long sessions and they stop there. That's not good enough. This is something that needs to be continuous for as long as the company exists and for as long as you're there in your position. And it should be encouraged for other managers, but even just, regular employees to take part in these sort of workshops and learning experiences. Um, Employers need to be open to listening to understand, not listening to debate. You can't debate someone's experience. They went through something and something needs to be done because of it. I think a lot of employers say that they're open to listening and they want to do better, and that's great, but actually do it. So follow through on what you say you want to do. Don't just tell us, oh, we want this. Actually do it. And sometimes that takes hiring someone to help you professionally, be actionable, because sometimes you really don't know which direction to go in. That means putting DEI in your budget. You do have to spend money on this, and that's just what it is. You have to be willing to do it. And yeah, I think also, like, being willing to listen to feedback that is negative. So it's almost like hearing something negative about yourself. It sucks. It does. Like, no one wants to hear anything negative about themselves, but this is what it is. And when you're opening to listening, and then being actionable about it, creating change, you're making the environment not just better for yourself, but literally for everyone. And people's happiness and experiences need to come first. That needs to be a priority. And then lastly, making sure that you have representation on everything that you're working on. Make sure that people from different backgrounds, different genders, diversity of thought, race, all of that, like, they all need to be in the room. They need to be in these really important conversations. They need to be building the products that you're building. Because the more representation you have, the less people that you are leaving behind. You're actually being inclusive, you're being diverse, and you're being equitable.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think I think the past year especially has really kind of opened up this conversation, and I hope, you know, with people like you that are doing work to really hold companies and by proxy boot camps and even like traditional education like colleges and universities, it's holding them more accountable for just saying, you know, oh, we're gonna hit some sort of quota for hiring, you know, a more diverse student body, or you know, a more diverse staff. So I think it's awesome. Where can people find you if they're curious more about Black Tech Pipeline, Black Tech Twitter, if they have any questions?
Yeah. So you can always go to blacktechpipeline.com, and from there you literally find everything. You can follow Black Tech Pipeline on Twitter and Instagram at BT Pipeline. You can also find us on LinkedIn at Black Tech Pipeline. For me personally, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Instagram at Paris Athena, Paris with 2 S's. Yeah, just following one of those would kind of expose you to everything. And the hashtag that you can search for both on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram is just hashtag Black Tech Twitter.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Paris. I really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. It was great having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.